that day. They're only working on one, right? And theirs is the most important one, right? Like you just have to have it. So it's philosophy. And then, the next step was very simple technology, maybe more monitors, faster internet, setup of your desk, right? So that was like maybe the first step. And then now with AI and that technology coming in, now maybe we don't have to ask as many questions because we can pull the data on the complex. We don't have to ask them to fill out a checklist or a form. We can use AI to help us search for loss history and other items that we historically would have to, reach out to the client or make the client, produce to us. So, and then I think, as we bring in things like blockchain, right, and those items, and we start to have things like loss history out, just like we do the blockchain, I think really will bring another level to the insurance, experience, because right now there's all this data that is just encapsulated.
Welcome to the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Kidd, where every week we dive deep into conversations with real estate pros, business owners, and maritime professionals about their mindset and journey to success. Please help support us on our journey and our channel by liking, subscribing, and commenting below so we can help you in your journey to success. How you doing today? Scott Kidd, the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast. Today I have Matthew Sutika of Nimble Insurance, is also a long-time multifamily and commercial real estate investor. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about yourself? Are you out on the sea right now?
No, I'm not. We're in the shipyard right now, and we're changing over for the Caribbean, so we're getting a lot of stuff done. So
awesome.
For the couple of people that don't know who you are, because I know you're world famous, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are today.
Yeah, that's great. No, I love the world famous. So I have a 3-year-old, side note, and we keep going on this jungle boat or jungle cruise ride at Disney. And one of the jokes on there at the very beginning is they say they're world famous for being world famous. So it just reminded me of that. If you've been on that ride, the jokes are really bad, but the ride is fun. So anyways, but yes, Matt Sutika, I'm out of Florida. I do insurance as the day job. We specialize in multifamily or habitational apartment, insurance, writing all over the United States. My background is always been in insurance, but, quite a few years ago, I started for tax purposes at first, but I started investing to reduce taxes. And then the snowball kind of went from there. I started investing in my clients' deals. And now I think I'm up to about 7,000 plus units that I'm invested in, again, mostly on the LP type side, due to time and everything like that. Most of my time is spent doing the insurance. But yeah, our brokerage specializes in, helping you get your insurance for either a new purchase or an asset that you currently own. And we have a lot of really good programs. We run our model like a Costco, where we have access to all the main carriers that you probably always heard of or brokers who brought your way. But then we also have our own Kirkland brand that really makes us special and provides some unique opportunities for our clients.
Well, that's really great, because the insurance these days, especially both of us living in Florida and stuff, the people that are investors, it can be quite a critical input as far as like when you're doing your underwriting and stuff. And what would you say sets you apart from all the other insurance companies for commercial insurance compared to everyone else in Florida? And are you nationwide or
nationwide? Yeah, nationwide. Yep. Yeah. So our boots, our location, if you can see behind me, we're it's not decorated yet. We just moved into this space Monday, so it's like still a little vanilla box. But yeah, out the back you can maybe see some palm trees and everything. We were down in Florida for our boots, but we're writing all over the United States, most specifically a lot of Midwest, a lot of Southeast, California, Arizona, things like that. We're not as much up in Maine or out in Alaska or Hawaii, but for the rest of the states we're in. And I think what really separates us, I'll go small, medium to large here, is I think the first thing, and it's so simple, is our response rate. I think more than anything, people nowadays just want everything fast, and we might not be able to deliver certain items quickly, but we can at least least reply and keep you informed. And I think that's 99% of the battle, right? I always explain to our team that when you're going out online shopping for something, right, you're most likely the first website you go to where you can get through or get some type of response is where you end up purchasing, or where you end up, not going to another site. But when you go to a site and you can't get a hold of somebody, or you can't go, then you're forced to go on. So even if you get that email like, hey, we got your information, we'll get back to you in 24 hours, like, we can check that off our to-do list. And I feel like for clients, that's a lot of it, right? I need to go get insurance. I got to get it over. And if we can reply to them, hey, we got it, we'll take care of this, it's no problem, they can move on with their day. If they get a lack of response, it's crickets. Well, on the day two, they're probably going to the next broker because they don't even know if we're interested. So I think that that is so simple, but I think that 90% of our peers are pretty slow. No offense or anything, but the next piece is, and we talked about it a little bit on my last part, is that our business is built with the mindset of a real estate investor. We can Rosetta Stone, if you will, the conversation between an insurance nerd like myself and a real estate investor, where we can talk their language and we can explain insurance that makes sense for them. And when we hear them talk about cutting proceeds and cap rates and per door, we can translate that over and understand what we can do better on the insurance side, to kind of mix that, where we saw a lot of people, the insurance person's talking about cent rates and risk management, and, the investors talking about this and this. And you can understand why there's just a lot of frustration when it comes to, pricing is always the biggest frustration regardless, right? It doesn't matter what market we're in or what per door rate we have right now. You always want it cheaper. So that's always going to be a topic. And then I think the last piece is really concentrating on spending the time to find the markets, find the appetite in every situation. And since we're doing that across the country, with there being thousands of carriers and, opportunities that you have to keep track of, being able to do that efficiently for our clients. So if you call us for Minnesota or Texas or Tennessee or wherever, we're going to have not only all the best carriers and access points that you need to get coverage and, good pricing, but we also built out those Kirkland brands I alluded to that really allows the flexibility to get your deals done. And since we understand what it's like to have proceeds cut, right? I've had that happen on my deals. We have a passion and we can use our programs in the mix with our access to make sure that you are not having that happen on your deal. At least it's not going to happen because insurance, especially if you start with us and go through the whole process from your LOI all the way through to under contract, we will really pride ourselves in making sure that, we take good care of you.
Okay. So your speed of execution and your customer service is high level. And I've always said that, in any business, if you have a high level of customer service, you're going to have a high level of customer satisfaction. So that speed of execution is going to keep you, ahead of the game. And if you just, because I've done the same where we're looking for insurance and stuff for deals we're working on, and insurance is very critical. And, if you don't have it locked in, the mortgage broker or the bank or lender, that's one of the first things you have to go after, because, it's a necessary item and it's a fixed cost that you are going to have to take into account. And if that person, you're absolutely right, if that person doesn't respond to you, whether it be on the website or by phone or by email pretty quickly, or at least say, hey, we'll be back with you in 24 hours, one of our team members. If I get that, then I'm like, okay, still going to shop around, but I'll be like, okay, they go on the yes list, or not the disregard. So that makes a big difference. So what part of this assists you, like with AI and all these automation tools? What helps you assists you in executing that high level of customer service?
I think it starts at just kind of the core of things. All the technologies are extensions, right? But I think you have to just have it in the core of your business. That's what you do, right? I don't have to be at people's desks as much as I did years ago, right? But it started with me, and then it's been top down as far as this feel of like urgency, right? I always told my team that everything is urgent for these clients, and even though we might be working on 50 apartments that day, they're only working on one, right? And theirs is the most important one, right? Like, you just have to have it. So it's philosophy. And then the next step was very simple technology, maybe more monitors, faster internet, setup of your desk, right? So that was like maybe the first step. And then now with AI and that technology coming in, now maybe we don't have to ask as many questions because we can pull the data on the complex. We don't have to ask them to fill out a checklist or a form. We can use AI to help us search for loss history and other items that we historically would have to, reach out to the client or make the client, produce to us. So, and then I think, as we bring in things like blockchain, right, and those items, and we start to have things like loss history out, just like we do the blockchain, I think really will bring another level to the insurance, experience, because right now there's all this data that is just encapsulated at each individual carrier. It's not shared, but when you think about if you go get auto insurance, right, all your tickets and accidents and violations and everything like that are all on the MVR system, right? So you can access that. You can't hide from it. It's there, and you don't have to provide that to your broker. So for our space, I think blockchain, these other things where this information is going out there that can't be changed, and anyone can access it. I believe is like the next level. So I think it started as the core philosophy. Then there was the early 2000s to 2020 like technology things that we started to do, and then now with AI and blockchain and all like that, we're just getting our fingers into that. Some of it we're not ready for, and I mean, like when I say we, like the insurance industry, but as we get access, because that's really a lot of times our biggest struggle on our side as a broker is that I'm probably the most, we're one of the more forward thinking brokers out there, right? Who is into Bitcoin and, into, whatever. But if I can't get all of my carriers to get onto the blockchain, you know what I'm saying? So there is still that little bit, and most of insurance is still back in the 80s. They're getting there. They've almost gone through Y2K. They're about to get there, right? So we do our best, and that's why I'm always honest, with it when I have this conversation, is that we're very interested. We're doing as much as we can. We're trying to push these things. We're using AI as much as we can. We got the ChatGPT in our office and everything like that. But really the push, needs to be to get our industry to move into those, it's gotta be both. And we just saw it with the InsureTech, right? Yeah. So when, I'll give an example for your audience, is when I owned my State Farm out of college, this was 20 years ago, right? State Farm, you could not go to their website or my agent website and like get a quote, because they're like, why are we putting the money into this, right? Call your agent and spend all this time on the phone, or let's meet at the kitchen table. And then all of a sudden the lemonades, the hippo, the other zebras and drinks and, other fun, fancy names came into the space, right? Where, and the first ones were called GEICO and Progressive, right? Those were really the first InsureTechs. They came into the space, and what they did was they forced the industry to put money into technology. And that first step was being able to quote online, right? That sounds so like 100 years ago, but that was really just 2010, right? Mm-hmm. That really started to push beyond just, the little GEICO and Flow, having that out there. So that's going to probably need to happen next. Is there's going to be some pioneers in the space, carriers that are going to do this, and it's going to push the big behemoths to jump in and dive in as well.
Yeah, that you bring up a lot of great points there, and I want to do a piggyback on that. That I know commercial real estate in general is coming along, but it's still very far behind. Like your joke about the getting to the Y2K, I think we're almost there.
Yep.
If I've always thought that being able to have all this stuff online, especially you've seen that once Progressive and all those guys came in, it didn't the insurance rates didn't necessarily go up. It actually gave a lot more efficiencies to it, to where they could actually, the rates actually got more competitive between everybody because the speed of execution is there. And like you were saying, the customer service now, a lot of these guys these companies have there's online chatbots with AI and stuff where they can answer a lot of your questions without, right there on the spot, rather than you having to call and wait. And, you go into that phone jail that sometimes you feel like you're never getting out of.
Yeah.
And
And I think there's like a little bit of an in between too, because one thing that's popped up for me, I don't know if you've noticed it, is that I don't love getting on the phone, truthfully. Maybe it's because I spent all my 20s cold calling and stuff or whatever. I don't know. But so I love text. I have a Mac, so I can even text to the computer. So like that seems to be my go-to, and I can multitask. But the one thing that I've noticed lately about companies that drives me even a little nuts is that there is sometimes where I do want a phone number, right? Or I do want the ability to call. And so many of these, or at least the chat, and a lot of these companies are going to this where the only option is you can search your question and they just want to have like AI answers for you, right?
Mhm.
And you can't get out of that. Like I like the ones where they try to answer for you, but then you can still click below and you can get into a chat where you can call or set up a call. So I'm like, I like going to like 90%, but
yeah,
like right now, try to talk to anybody about your Google account, and it's impossible.
Amazon,
Yeah,
Amazon, Facebook,
yeah.
any one of those. I
My
mean,
my team member got knocked out of his email yesterday, and it took me 3 hours on their chat to try to, or like on their, it's not even a chat, just like questions to try to figure out how to just get him back active. So I think I always say it's like go forward 80, stay back 20, right? And
yeah,
if you keep doing that, you'll still go up and to the right, but like you don't want to burn down everything, at the same time when you're
yeah,
going. Like it's like this, right? And so the
yeah.
same thing with Google. It's like, let me answer a couple questions, but after 2 hours, can I just get on a live chat, please?
Yeah, can we get through somebody that can kind of walk through the process? And
When I finally figured it out, it was the most simple thing that it was like, that had you been talking to someone, it would have been 2 seconds.
yeah,
So anyways,
I mean, how many times in the tech world, as I used to be in tech, like you get tunnel vision or just any problem you have in business or whatever, you're struggling with it for however long. And
yep,
then somebody comes by and goes, "Hey, just hit F4." And then you're like,
yep.
"Oh, man, you know,
The old F4 button. That was
yeah,
that was the cure for everything.
the cure.
If you could just hit the F4 button. Yep, I remember. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah. That
that.
was
Yeah.
going back to my 486 days or whatever it was.
It reminds me, there was a comedian I watched one time where he talked about like Robitussin, and he was like, "Yeah, my mom, it didn't matter
Yeah,
what it was
Robitussin.
growing up. Broken leg, put some tussin on it. Like it was so. It's like anything broken on the computer, just hit the F4 button.
Yeah. That's the thing, and we've all been there on the sites where you're talking with a chatbot and it's AI or another person or what have you. But at a certain point, you get stuck in that same like the phone jail. You get stuck in that loop where they can't really answer your question, or they keep shuffling you from department to department. And
Yep.
it's like, hey, just put me online with someone that is a solution based
Yeah.
customer service
And
guy.
depending on your industry, like for instance, home, auto, things like that, I
Yeah,
really think can be done by a chat and
yeah,
online. Heck, I do mine. But for us, in the
yeah,
commercial space, if any of my clients happen to see this, don't freak out. You can still call us. We're
yeah,
still going
yeah,
to give you that white glove.
yeah,
Our space just really needs it with how complex it is with the lenders, when you're dealing
yeah,
with Fannie Freddie loans and different things like that. So we're far from being able to turn my website
yeah,
into a chatbot AI only
yeah,
version. We'll probably use it more for fun facts and quick information, but from the customer service standpoint, we're probably still a lot in the, we need to chat, get on
yeah.
calls, things like that. It's just more complex. But you want a quick auto insurance or quick home insurance, yeah, you can do that online, no problem.
Yeah, I see it more like on the commercial property management side where they can field a lot of the questions, especially when you have a lot of like Class A or similar properties where they have their procedures written out to where they can just search through and say, hey, call this number. If you need a plumber, blah blah blah, he'll come. Maintenance guy, put in a request, and all those things can be done pretty easily. But a lot of these insurance applications for commercial real estate can be fairly custom sometimes, especially when you're getting with that many range of assets. You're going from an RV park to a storage,
Yep.
or even a warehouse, office space. They all have, and they're all in different demographics, so they're kind of nuanced approaches between so many different asset classes and geographic areas. Because you have, I would think, and I thought of this was that, yourself being an investor, having the insurance background, that probably gives you access to a lot of data that they can help you do a better background on a quick due diligence check and stuff like that, because you probably have access to a lot of data that you can crunch. Because I would think just having that access and being able to crunch that into your due diligence, and it probably helps you when you've got, if you are on the GP side where you go through doing the due diligence, that would probably help you a lot of ways. And as an LP, how do you see this helping you, and what types of asset classes do you focus on as an LP? Is it mostly multifamily?
Yeah, no, there's 3 or 4 really good points in there. I'll kind of wade through them here. So I have historically concentrated on apartments in the real estate space as far as my investing. Historically, and I'll get into the opportunities that I do have and what my thoughts on there, but historically, I've been very interested in just getting in my clients' deals, right? Okay. And the reason for that is I feel like I could look at a lot of stuff, and I'm sure that, and we'll go into that point in a second, but ultimately, the spot that I'm in today is because my clients trusted me with the insurance, and I probably shouldn't be writing insurance for people who aren't, being successful in the real estate side, right? Like that would be kind of, so I feel like I got a good client base that I can feel pretty comfortable in just, putting money into their deals. And the way I look at it is twofold. If they kill it for me, awesome. If it ends up being just a return of my money, or it goes a little south or whatever, we don't do a marketing spend. We're a referral only business. This is also my way of just saying, hey, like, you've believed in me on the insurance side, I believe back in yours, because they're running those businesses and coming to me on the insurance, right? And there's a lot of trust in that. I'm putting my personal money, my kids' money into their deals. I can't tell them that I trust them more than doing that on the backside. So that's how I've invested, historically. Now, I have thought about it, and I clearly get bugged about this a lot because I do have probably one of the best bird's eye views if I ever wanted to create a fund or, be very selective of my deals, because yes, I'm getting 10, 20, 30 OM sent my way per day, or if not more, on certain days that, I'm seeing how operators go. I'm seeing the returns. I'm seeing when things are selling. I'm seeing who's doing well, who's doing okay, who's losing on their deals, right? Getting a lot of information from Bancorp and Arbor and, the lenders, there. So if I had an extra Matthew Sutika of time, I think, we would probably be pretty successful because of that information and opportunity, right? Not only am I nice enough to put money into deals, my clients have been nice enough to let me into their deals, right? They could very much say no. And a lot of them have given me the ability to come in at lower, minimums than they maybe let, other people on it, because I've tried to spread out my cash across there and have almost like a mutual fund of my clients, if that makes sense. And so, I think if I had the time to really do that, and I've tried, raising capital and some different things like that, because I've had clients talk me into it on some deals. And I think it really would be successful. For me, it's like a time thing, right? So, maybe there's a Nimble Capital one day that we've talked about it, because I do have interest in a 401k that was built with our clients' assets that my team at Nimble could invest in. That's actually something that's kind of on the horizon a little bit. So, and then clearly I would be the no pun intended, but I'd be the captain of that ship as far as, what there. And I have to give a shout out. So I got a guy, Nick, here in our office who's phenomenal. He really is got a good real estate mind to him too. So, and does insurance. So probably him and I would, be selective. And I think it'd be like a pretty cool thing if we can pull it off, because now I could go to my clients and say, hey, we're going to take on 10 deals a year, 20 deals a year into our 401k that we have. And, I haven't really seen anybody in the space do that. So I think we would be one of the first, or at least the first that I know of, right? There's, maybe you're never probably the first, but so those are the things that go through my head, and kind of what you're probably getting is that I'm always trying to think of the next thing, and advancing not only my business, but our clients, because the more we keep it in a circle where I'm doing stuff for my clients and bringing stuff, the more insurance deals I'm going to do, right? It's just a natural, evolution. So we're really concentrating on it because at the end of the day, I've been doing insurance policies my whole life. I can be sleeping and do insurance coverage. Like I know that, right? And that's what we tell our clients. Like, I will make sure you're covered. I'm worried about everything else. I'm worried about your proceeds. I'm worried about you closing. I'm worried about, your property management. I'm worried, all these other things. And I think that really has alluded to us that Nick, who I mentioned on this call, he probably spends half his week doing phone calls not related to insurance. Because our clients call at him, want his advice on X for their properties. So I think that, to wrap it up, I think, as you can see, I could probably go on this topic for a long time. I'm pretty passionate about it. There's a lot that we can do. I don't know if it's still on our website, but I'm famous for being famous again for saying that if you can use insurance more as a tool than a line item, there's a lot you can do with it.
Well, yeah, there most definitely is. And I see you've developed and come up with some unique synergies because you are investing in your clients' deals, and they're getting the insurance from you. And, it could be a natural progression for you to, start a fund and invest in their deals. And, just something I thought of as well is that, a lot of these operators, they invest in other people's deals too. And that would give them access to your whole deal book so that, they obviously have confidence in you to write the insurance policy. So all of these other deals that you have access to, you could share those out to your retirement in your company and to other people in their deals, because it could be a very wide open synergy, and you could invest in other people's deals as well. So you've kind of developed a unique synergy there between yourself and your clients. It's not about just writing the insurance policy. It's about not just returning the favor, but just keeping the cycle going towards a long-term relationship. And I think that's very unique. I've never quite heard anybody even really talk about it too much. So maybe you are the only one, but I would welcome it because I think it, the way I look at it, especially since we're also launching a fund for all our development deals that we're doing in Dallas and Kansas City and stuff. And we're always looking for strategic partners, like insurance partners, equity partners, lending partners, construction partners, land partners. Just we look at everyone as a partner because we want long-term relationships. And I see that you have that relationship as that ideology as an entrepreneur. And a lot of times the people that you see scale are the ones that have that mentality, because there's plenty in it for everyone. It's not just me, me at Nimble Insurance, we're going to be the biggest and the best and screw everyone else. It's if you're working with everyone and you come up with these innovations, other people will adopt it, and that makes more room for everyone else. And I really welcome hearing when people have that kind of mentality, because it just kind of, I think it opens up for more discussions and new ideas and being creative where we can make more opportunities for other people. So in going forward, where do you see, these relationships and just insurance on a whole going? Because it's gotten kind of taken a bit of a beating lately with all these storms and, flooding and things like that. I know people in commercial real estate have been kind of, woe is me, especially in Florida. Do you see more competition coming in?
Yeah. So I think it gets the spotlight, right? Hurricanes come through, and living here in Florida, the news is always about insurance and how it's, either not paying for something, it got more expensive, or the person didn't have it because they couldn't afford it. Now their house is gone. It gets the spotlight, right? Mm-hmm. Just like medical insurance gets the spotlight so much, good, bad, or otherwise. It's just one of those things. I grew up, my dad was a State Farm agent. I remember it. I know how bad it drove him nuts, but I remember seeing it as a kid, and it's dawned on me now, we couldn't go to a football game or a local event or whatever. And, my dad would introduce himself and say, "Hey, I'm an insurance broker or agent." and someone would have to tell their nasty story, not anything he did or his office or even anything related, maybe even just his State Farm. They'd be like, yeah, I just got screwed on my car insurance. Yeah. And my dad'd be like, great. Like, he's like,
how's the kids?
Yeah. But it's this like weird thing that like, if he introduced himself as a plumber or whatever, like no one's like, oh, well, I can't, I can tell you about the big number 2 I took this morning. Like, it's like, you don't do it. You're like, oh, that's great. That's, on to the next. But for some reason, people felt the need when you mentioned insurance to give you their war story. Right.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm bringing that up is that I'm never actually worried about what's going on with the weather, which we can't control, rates and everything like that. That is, to a point, uncontrollable for me. And a lot of times it's uncontrollable to a point for clients. What is controllable, right? And you mentioned it in your last segment, was the partnership, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why I will answer always question when anybody brings up shopping or using multiple brokers or what's the mistake that real estate investors, I would say it's not having a partner, right? Because you can get away with maybe shopping your insurance here and there when deals go good. But ultimately, just like a lender, a property manager, whatever, if you have a partner on the insurance side, there's going to be a time, let's call it over a 3-year period, where you're really going to need that partnership, right? Whether whatever that scenario is, from a cutting of a rate to putting in the extra time or doing whatever it is. And you can't get that if you got a Rolodex of 10 that you were just treating like a, like a random, call, transaction, right? You're just not going to, right? Because, and so you really got to pick who you are as an owner in the space as it relates to insurance. And do you want a partnership that you're going to win with, right? And they're going to do a good job for you and fire them if they don't, right? Mm-hmm. Or do you want it to be transactional and treat them, like a vendor, I hate that damn word, right? Yeah. Type deal. And then from that, my job is to make sure that at any and all times, bull market, bear market, that I'm doing whatever I can to get insurance in the best place for my clients. Some years, it's going to be higher. Some years it's going to be lower. But what I will always promise is I will be able to get you covered and not totally kill your asset, right? I think a lot of times, as you know, and this is why I bring up the spotlight, is because insurance is renewing annually, and it is maybe a larger line item. People will use it as the excuse to why their property is going under. Oh, I lost my property because insurance rates went up. It's like, no, you had 30% occupancy. That's what really screwed up. Right. So, so unfortunately, and that is what I'm not going to change that. I could go on a million podcasts talking all over the world. I'm never going to change the woe is me, blame other type of
victim mindset.
American spirit that we have, right?
Yeah.
It's always somebody else, right? It's the left or the right side, right? And we're not going to change that, but that's really important for people if they can really hear what I'm saying, is that if you have a good partner in the insurance space and you have a property that you're going to hold over a 5 or 7 year term, let's just call it. If you have a good partner, they're going to get you through that. You maybe have some highs and have some lows. Most of it's going to be in the middle. But if you're doing shopping and you don't have someone who's good or looking at it, you could just be at all-time highs all the time, right? And really what you need to concentrate on is not insurance, right? That's why you have a good insurance partner. Mm-hmm. You got to concentrate on operating, right? Getting tenants in there, pushing your property manager to, get lease signed. Like, you need to drive revenue, right? Mm-hmm. And let your one expense have a highly decorated, really good insurance brokerage doing their job, right? Mm-hmm. And trust that they're going to do their job, right? You need to fact check it every once in a while. Sure, no problem. You know what I'm saying? But you're really going to need that, and then have a conversation of what you need. Hey, Matt, for my insurance, here's what I need, right? Mm-hmm. I need this coverage. What options do I have to maybe reduce my pricing, right? Because just saying, I'm going to go shop it, like that doesn't install that you're going to get lower pricing, because if you have a good broker, they're probably going to all the markets that make sense. Anyways, it's like going to the doctor, right? You can get a second opinion, right? But it doesn't guarantee that they're curing your illness just because you went out to 2 people instead of 1, right? And maybe bad analogy, I don't know. But the kind of the point of all of this is that if you are in tune with your relationship in all levels, insurance, property management, asset management, you're going to, as an operator, be able to have a successful property, right? But you have to have trust, no different than if you're an entrepreneur. If you're doing everything still and you're running it like a one man or one woman show, like the growth, the scalability is just not going to be there. Eventually you have to trust good people to be partners or employees, right? This is no different than anything else. So that's my answer on the insurance, and I think most people attack it like, oh, don't worry about it. I don't think there's going to be hurricanes this year or whatever. Like, that's not the controllable piece. The controllable piece is opportunity. And really in this giant guess who board that we have on the insurance side, it's at the end of the day, I want to keep as many people still looking at me when I start saying, does it have a hat? Does it have hair? Does it have a mustache? Right? With as many carriers and opportunities for my clients as possible is going to give them the best outcome.
Yeah. And I mean, you raised some great points there that, having that partner, especially in the commercial real estate space that, especially if you're doing a large value add project or you're doing development project like we're doing, you want to revisit certain stuff at 6 months or like, hey, the values are coming in a little bit higher and everything else. So, hey, do we need to maybe readjust or anything next year? Or, do we need, there's always good to keep in communication, do like a reassessment every so often, like, here's where we're at now. And future, we're taking on these 3 other properties. Do we need to maybe think about some additional types of coverage and stuff like that based on the assets we have in our portfolio? And, and then you also have to think about all the other ways that you need insurance in your business and stuff, rental loss and all those things, because, hey, maybe the rents have gone up and everything else more than you anticipated. So maybe you need more coverage there. So there's where you need that strategic partner. And if you had somebody where you're transactional, they may not be able to help you, or they may not care. They may not be like, well, this guy just called me when he needs something. He doesn't, call. He doesn't, he just got 4 more properties and he didn't use me on those where I could have gotten him a good deal and stuff like that. So I think you've raised some really great points here just about, being very forward thinking and how to be a great insurance partner. And a lot of times it gets put by the wayside, like you said, and it, it gets a bad rap because, whenever the storms come, you guys take a lot of heat.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this has been, like I said, it's been really great and it's been very eye-opening for me. And I'd like to hear more about if you do have this retirement 401k tool that you're having as a fund. For people that, the 3 or 4 people that still don't know who you are after they've watched this, where do people go to find you?
I think the easiest is social media, just because I'm the only Matthew Sutika, I believe, on the planet, which is kind of cool. And if you found another Matthew Sutika, please call me out on that because I have never. So any social media site, you type in my name, I'm going to be the only one that pops up. So very easy to find me there. If you prefer email, it's Matthew at nimbleins.com. You can email me as well. But either one of those work great, or just go to our website. You can get a hold of us there too. But social media is always the easiest if you're listening on your headphones or your iPhone or whatever you're doing, and you can't write down an email address or whatever. Usually most people have access to at least one of the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, that might be the easiest to at least find me and go from there.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing more about all these innovations and stuff that you're doing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all your insights and long-term knowledge with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks again for joining us. This is Scott Kidd, the Yacht Captain Investor. And the biggest reminder is the largest investment you can make is the one that you make in yourself. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.